So today I thought I would do a little video about some accent garments that I recently acquired at a sale. I got a couple different pieces that I'm going to show you two of today, and what I'm going to do is just sort of give you a little tour of the outside of the garment and then some of the features of the inside of the garment. I'm going to do my best to estimate sort of the time period and the materials, but I'm not a trained costume history expert, so if I misspeak, it's because of that. This is just sort of my amateur opinion about what these garments, what era they're from, what they're made of, things like that. And I just thought it would be something interesting for people to see because not all of us get to touch and play with extant garments all the time. This is a bodice that I found from a vintage seller. She was saying that because it was so damaged, she thought someone could just use it as a Halloween costume. But I just got really excited because I thought I could use it just to study and kind of show to people who don't necessarily see extant garments every day when I go to do talks and things like that. You can see it does have several rips and worn spots. The outside is made of silk. It does have extensive water damage up here as well. It's a very, very thin silk, so I'm thinking this was maybe a summer garment because it's really lightweight. The shape of it, it's got no collar attached to the bodice. It just has piping here to finish the edge. It's got a little bit of a tail in the back, and it's got these sloping shoulders, and the sleeves are a little bit wide, especially near the elbow. So my best estimate is that this jacket is probably from sometime in the 1850s or early 1860s. Here you can see the tail on the back of the jacket. It fans out really nicely. This would go over a hoop skirt or an elliptical hoop skirt. It's got two buttons back here. I don't know if you can tell on the camera. Let's see if I can move the fabric to show you. But the silk is a changeable silk. So the warp and the weft, when they were weaving the fabric, they used two different colors so that when you move the silk, it actually changes color. And it looks like a very modern thing for fabric to do, but it was, I mean, obviously this is a period garment, and all they had to do was use one color on the warp and one color on the weft, and it would make this nice changing color. Some of this I can tell has been hand stitched, but some of it, like on the edge of the trim, it does look machine stitched. So that also tells me this was made sometime after the invention of the sewing machine, because all of this trim, you can tell it was obviously machine stitched on. But like here on the turn up, those are obviously little hand whip stitches. So, oh, and there's more piping here where the sleeve is joined to the arm side. And the front of the bodice comes back over the shoulder to make that sloping shoulder. I'm going to turn this back over and then I will open it up and show you the inside. So even though this bodice has buttons going down the front, they're not functional buttons, because when you open it up, it closes with hooks and eyes that run all the way down the front here. Oh, one of these buttons had fallen off and somebody sewed it back on with maroon thread that may be silk. It kind of feels like silk twist. And here you can also see more hand stitching. The seam allowance on the inside was whipped down. Oh, it's not whipped down. They just finished off the edge with very wide whip stitches. see. It's got some padding here at the shoulders. Like it's definitely stuffed with something. It's not just interlined. You can actually see, this is kind of gross but also interesting, there are stains and discoloration under the arms. So you can see where someone wore this. It's actually, if she was sweating this much, this probably was a summer garment. That's kind of cool and gross at the same time. There's also a bit of padding here. There's something in there. There are no bones in the seam of this garment. I'm used to making later 19th century garments where you put bones in the seams just to keep it nice and smooth. But this one does not have any bones in there. I'm just looking. The lining has these little tiny darts in it that don't actually go through to the fashion fabric. So I wonder if that was someone tried to bring it to take it in a tiny, tiny bit after it was finished because it didn't quite fit right. So the darts in the front go all the way into the skirt of the bodice. The skirt of the bodice is lined in some sort of coated, this is coated in something. It's a coated linen or cotton, probably just to keep its shape. This tag in here, I'm thinking, is a laundry tag. There's also one in the skirt that I have that matches this bodice. That's the really exciting thing about this piece, is that not only did the seller have the bodice, she had the matching skirt as well, which was really, really exciting because I had never seen a bodice this old at a vintage seller's shop. And not only did she have the bodice, but she had the skirt to match it. Let me just see if there's anything else interesting in here I can... Ooh, look! The lining is pieced. Piecing is period. They didn't have enough to make up the whole lining of this skirt, so they had to piece in... Oh, here's an oddly shaped one. And you can see the hand stitches in green. They had to piece in bits to fit. That's always exciting when you find what looks like mistakes that we would make on modern garments. You find them on historical garments and you see that they were just like us. They made mistakes as well. And they just pieced together things from fabric they had laying around for economy's sake. Okay, what else is in here? Ooh, here you can see some of that padding from the shoulder. This is interesting. This looks like a chain stitch. I still can't tell exactly what this padding is because it's very discolored, but that's interesting. More hand stitches here. Oh, and I think this thread originally ran down the whole length and helped attach the buttons. And it looks like it just got worn out and snapped, and that's why some of the buttons down here you can see were sewn back on with different thread. Everywhere I look, there's a different type of thread. I see blues, I see greens, I see whites. So this was a very well-worn garment that was constantly being repaired. Let's see what's in the shoulder. There's more of that padding sticking out. There's a brown thread that, again, it looks like a chain stitch. And the shoulders, oh, here you can see the original, how the original fabric looked. It feels a little bit thicker than the outside. It's much more lustrous. You get more of that changeable thing going on. It looks like it's green. on one direction and like an eggplant or a burgundy in the other direction. And again, here's more of that water damage. Oh, and here the split in the skirt was starting to rip, so they repaired it with some bluish greenish thread. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and then I will show you the skirt. Carefully turn this back the right side. Okay, so here's the skirt, and on the skirt, the silk seems to be in slightly better condition, so you can see this is where I really noticed that it was the fact that it was changeable silk, because when you move it, it's got like a greenish golden, again, that like eggplant or burgundy color coming through. And I'm going to start by turning it inside out because that's really the most interesting part to me. So it is lined in this coated linen or silk again. It also has a thicker lining on the hem to make the hem stand out a bit more. And that looks like that was hand stitched on. It's got a couple different kinds of stitching. It also has, this is probably wool hem tape, and that's to keep the edge of the skirt safe and clean from dragging on the ground, so it doesn't tear the silk at the edge. Ooh, there was a tag here. That was stuck on with some kind of adhesive. So I can't tell if that's period or if that's more modern. Oh, and again, we get all kinds of different types of thread on here. But the inside seams, some of them look hand stitched. Some of the other ones that I saw looked machine stitched. But if we look at the waist, the waistband is just, looks like linen, bit of linen cut right on grain, so it's very tight. It's got ties to tie it closed, and in the back it's got these itty bitty little cartridge pleats. You can see where the fashion fabric was folded over, but they also attached this coated linen or cotton band to it to give it more strength, and then they made tiny little cartridge pleats and then whipped them all on. And when I look close, I can actually see the fashion fabric sandwiched in here in these cartridge pleats. That I got really excited when I saw. And then here's the laundry, what I think is the laundry tag on this one as well. And this is the edge. This is just the raw selvage, actually. I can actually see what looks like the modern like pinholes at the selvage edge. It looks very similar to what we have today, but that's, yeah, that's just the selvage edge. They didn't even fold that over when they finished the seam. Same thing on this side of the opening. They did hand stitch it to the interlining though. And then the seam is ripping and coming apart. The threads are coming apart. That's hand sewn down there. What else? So there's, the only closure on here is the tie. There's no other closures. I'll turn it over and look at the back. Oh, here's some more of that water damage that we saw on the bodice. But in the folds of the cartridge pleats, it's really vibrant because that's been, the folds have been more hidden from the sun and the air. So the silk is crisper and it's much more vibrant back here. And it changes a lot more. And look at that, those neat cartridge pleats. And you can see where the dye from the silk has run onto the waistband where it got wet. So yeah, this is a very, very full skirt. Let's see if I can get the whole thing up here and you can see how full it is. Because this would have been worn, again, over a hoop or an elliptical cage crinoline. It covers my whole sewing table, and it's still, like, there's hem circumference to spare. It does have some holes in it. There's a hole one there. There were some tears in the front. But considering the age and that I found this on a clothing rack in an old school bus that someone was using as their antique or as their vintage store, I'm very, very impressed with it. Oh my god, you guys! It has pockets! There is a pocket in this skirt! I can't even tell you right now. There's a pocket in this skirt! Literally, there's a pocket in this skirt! And I just discovered this. Look at that. They made a pocket out of this linen material, and they put it right in the seam of the skirt. That is so exciting. I had not seen that until just now. Okay. Well, I think that's a really exciting note to end on. So, I hope you enjoyed this little tour. I hope you learned a little bit of something, and I have a couple more extant garments that I recently acquired, so I will probably be making more videos, and I will see you next time.